Hello everyone, welcome back. You're watching Empyrion Galactic Survival episode 174. I'm Igneous and today the SimpleSaucer build continues. I've been doing a lot of detailing since the last episode. That's really what I've been focusing on is a little bit of exterior detailing and a lot of work on the inside. We're not quite done yet, but I feel like we're making extremely good progress, and I decided that this episode would be just kind of a look around at what we've done both during the day and at night, because I'm putting even more focus on the lighting with this particular ship than I have in previous ones, because it's such a simple design. When we look at putting a circle into a voxel world, it's kind of a thing. It's not necessarily the easiest thing in the world to do, but a circle is still a circle. It's still a very simple thing that we see in day-to-day life all the time. It's not especially complicated, so if we really want to accentuate it and make it stand out, one of the best ways to do that is through lighting, and the same goes with the interior. There's only so much you can do with a capital vessel's interior if you're just plunking down machines, as I am usually prone to do. But I wanted this to be a little bit different and have a little bit more of a sci-fi feel, if you can imagine that spaceship, and we need more of a sci-fi feel. Anyways, the exterior, I've put in a few windows. You can see we've got some windows here, and they're looking towards the inside, obviously. And I think the most interesting windows are the ones that we've got up here. And this is basically a test kind of thing that I set up. And I'm actually going to turn off my suit light for now because we don't need it. I actually placed the windows and then cut through the hull so that you would actually be able to see through the windows to the outside when you were standing on the ground relatively close to them. You'll get a better idea when we go inside to see what I mean, but I really liked the idea of the way everything sort of came together for these windows, and I plan to duplicate them all the way around, which is very, very simple. All we have to do, in fact, I can show you right now a very simple example of how easy it is to cut for the windows into the hull, and then you select the sloped windows. There, your windows are done. Just like that. But obviously windows to a combat steel background isn't very interesting, so in order to finish this we have to cut through the hull and create an opening so that you can actually get the benefit of the window. But that's what we'll be doing all the way around. One key detail is that you'll notice here and here I left these edges as they were, because if I were to try and remove them and replace them with glass, it wouldn't line up with the rest of the stuff. The only option that you would have if we were to use one of them, is this one of them? Yeah. In fact, this is the exact proper block, is you would place this one obviously alongside that one there, or you could use one of the 45-degree slope blocks if you were looking for something a little bit more refined, but you would still have the problem of it lining up with this next tier of blocks as they move around, which is not really going to look all that great. And if you use this one, the straight up and down one, do the same thing. Remove these two combat steel blocks, place this in here, then you've got the rest of that space that's taken up by the block is just a big gap with a square 90-degree sort of face up here, and then it continues over to this next couple of blocks. It's not really the way that I would prefer to do it. So the easiest solution, the best looking solution in my opinion, is to just leave these edge blocks exactly as they are and move on with your life. So we could do this for the upper level all the way around, and the lower level as well, keeping in mind that the lower level is exactly the same as the top. So whatever we do on the top we can do on the bottom just as easily, or not. just as difficultly. I don't even think that's a word. The other thing that I did outside is I set up these lights all the way around the perimeter, and at night they actually do a really good job of sort of accentuating the shape when you can't really see anything else. I just added these blocks on the corner, these lights here. They barely sort of make contact with this part here, and then they shine off in the distance. These are the kind where you can adjust the intensity and the range, whereas these flares, you just place them and all you can do is change the color, if that's what you want to do. So when we switch over to nighttime, we'll see. But the whole idea here is, as the lights come around, they're kind of following a curve. It's a very convincing curve. But then we get to this side here where we've got these 3 lights in a row. And as we've been looking at with this whole build, sometimes you just have to push something out a little bit in order to make it more convincing. And if we're looking at how that circular curve, it works a lot better to go like that. So we had to use a different light, but we can change it to white, and I'm sure that it's going to be it's going to preserve the shape better than what we currently have with this flare right here. We have thrusters all the way around, top and bottom. Those are all in place, so that's good. I find that it's a little bit, maybe a little bit sluggish. I was doing a little bit of flight testing and discovered that it's not bad. I was more concerned about the turning, the maneuverability, than I was about the acceleration and the speed. So I haven't really given a whole lot of thought to what more I might do to add a little bit of extra oomph to the thrusters. There's a few different things that I could try, but for now, it is what it is. And we're going to go through the window, just because this is the interior. Me and my blue lights with the maximum intensity, I just like them. There's no other way to describe it. And really, that's all that matters. When you're building your own ships, you just do what you like. It doesn't have to be a certain way because other people do it that way, and that's kind of the way I look at it as well. These are the windows that I was talking about, and burrowing through the hull to expose them in a way that you can actually look up and see through them, as opposed to just having them not usable for anything other than looking interesting on the outside. And if we do that around at least the top, I don't know if it would be necessarily all that practical on the bottom, but if we did it all the way around the top, whenever we could find those sloped blocks paired like that, I think it could add a lot of interest to the interior of the ship as well as the exterior. You may notice that everything is in glass. All of the things are in glass. We have the thrusters, the lift and descent thrusters are in glass. We have our generators are in glass. The warp drive is in glass. Our RCS units are all behind glass. And our fuel tanks are also all behind glass. So I haven't finished putting everything in the interior that I want. Obviously, we have no constructors, we have no storage, we don't have any of those things, and that's fine for where we're at. We'll get to that. But realistically speaking, I wanted to get the essential elements that you can't really have a ship without, and that's obviously your generators, your fuel tanks, your thrusters, and your RCS units, so the ship can at least get around, so that I can mess around with it. And much like I do with the design elements this time around, is I can kind of get some performance elements in place, test it, and then let it sit for a while and decide, do I really want to leave it like that, or do I want to try and squeeze a little bit more something in there to make it perform a little bit closer to what I would have in mind. Now this central area here, I'm actually quite happy with the way it turned out. It's very simple and straightforward. We have the door that we just scoot through, the elevator that is what you enter the ship from. You can see the concrete is just below. It's not very far. That's the nice thing about this. It's a pretty low ship. It's very squat and easily accessible from the ground. And then you come up here and we've got sort of this, I don't even know what you call it. It's just like a glass lobby area almost. And then we go through another door, and this is the cockpit. And because you can only see out of the ship currently from those windows there, it made sense that we would have some sort of element. In this case, it's a console element that works pretty well because it's got the big map of the planet, and it's got like the planet here is kind of rotating, and all this data is coming down, and this is supposedly what you would be using to navigate. I'm not big on the RP, but it's still, there are certain things that they've allowed us to add very, very easily that do add a certain element to the game, even without considering it in the RP context. So, and of course, because all of my bridge areas have red lights. This one does too. And there's the core. Lots of combat steel between the core and any of the exterior elements of the ship, so it's relatively safe, I would say. Now, the thing that really sort of makes this stand out or not is the performance at night, when you don't have the light shining in and changing the dynamics of the lighting that we have in place. So we will make it night. That's pretty nighttime. The interior, it doesn't change a whole lot yet. When we get the extra windows in, it will probably have a more significant impact on the way things look at nighttime. But I just really like the way it looks at night. It's all blue. Better than purple, at least. It's got some nice lines on the underside of the bridge area here. It's a nice compact bridge area, and we've got all this space for all of the other things that we might need. It's well lit. It may not be your personal favorite choice of color or intensity, but you can at least see where you're going for the most part. There's no important areas of the ship that aren't lit, and that's kind of key. Like, for example, back here, all we've got for lighting is this flare, but there's actually nothing back here except for the windows. So it's not like in a crisis situation you would be pissed off because you couldn't get back here on account of the lighting. But it's something to keep in mind, I think. At least having the ship lit on the inside so that you can see what's going on at any given time in all the important areas is kind of important to me. So that was one of the reasons why I did it. And then on the outside, you can see we've got these perimeter lights, which for little flare lights, given the size of the ship, they actually do a pretty good job of keeping things lit. And you can also see the lights that I just added. And what I'll do, actually, just very quickly, we'll kind of step back, and you can see how it comes around like this, and then it is just straight, and then it goes back to the curved sort of thing. So having added those lights now that are just pushed out ever so slightly, about a half a block worth is all it took. And then we'll try and carefully prune these little flares out without hitting other hull elements and having to repair them. I tell you, combat steel, when you're building with it and you accidentally partially demolish something because you missed, it's not the easiest thing in the world to repair. You can see, without those little flares, it's still not perfect. It goes out actually a little bit far, but it's not, to me, as noticeable as having that flat row of lights. So we get sort of that rounded effect going all the way around. And there's other things that we'll be doing on the outside as well that will add sort of visual interest. But the last thing we can do, I think, is we've seen it at night on the inside and out. So now we're going to switch it back to day so that we can see it on the outside, the whole ship, fairly easily. And we can get a feel for the handling characteristics. I mean, it's got reasonable turning. The rate of ascent for a ship of its size, given that it's going on only 2 thrusters, is not bad. The rate of descent, not surprisingly, is a little bit faster on account of the assist from gravity. And the forward acceleration is, I mean, the forward acceleration, we're at 0 meters per second right now, and in about a second we're maxed out at 31.8. So the acceleration is good. The top speed is okay. I think we should be okay because I'm not going to be adding a lot of mass with the remainder of the build. It's just going to be one of those things that it's basically a little bit of equipment left to go on the inside, weapons on the outside, maybe a little bit of tweaking and detailing, and then it'll be done. So if we don't have a blueprint for you the next episode, it'll be available the episode after. If you want to be notified about the next episode and future episodes, the easiest way to do that is to subscribe to my channel or follow me on social media. Links for social media are always in the information section below the video. Feel free to leave your comments and feedback. Thanks for watching, guys, and take care.